Thank you. Our next speaker will be Christy Nicholson. She was invited to speak to us and comes from the Alan Alda Center for Communication Science, where Alan Alda, the actor, has created an innovative method using improvisation. She's an award-winning science journalist and startup entrepreneur. She is a co-founder of the publishing startup Publit and contributing editor at Scientific American. Christy is also an adjunct professor at NYU's School of Journalism and is on the board of the South by Southwest Interactive. At the Alan Alda Center, Christy has coached more than 3,000 scientists on communicating with colleagues, policymakers, and the public. Today, she's going to speak to us about communicating science and distilling your message. Welcome, Christy.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this. Can you hear me okay? It's clear? Okay, awesome. Thanks to Nicole and everyone at OSHU for putting this together. What a terrific conference. The more I learn about it, the more I'm extremely excited, and I think the timing for it is perfect. So before we get going, I just want you all to think about something in your mind right now and hold it. And we'll talk about it later, and then I'll give you some homework. Think of a concept that you've recently been attempting to communicate to someone and have been having a lot of difficulty. Pretty easy, right? So do you have it? You got it. I got one too. Unfortunately, it's my startup, so I should know how to explain it at this point, especially after meeting with 150 VCs, but I haven't yet, so I need my own work. So we're all going to do this together, so keep that in mind. Now, just a little bit of background, and that'll feed into what we're going to do today. This 1 hour that I have with you is going to be a tiny mini window into what we do at the Alda Center across the country. Usually, we're based at Stony Brook University. I'm not usually there. I usually travel across the country with Alan and the gang, and we work, like last week we were at Caltech, and then Arizona State University, and before that, the Pew Charitable Trusts, the biomedical arm, met with them down just outside of Atlanta. So we do these 1 to 2 day workshops with scientists, and Alan does bring in a lot of improvisation. I'm going to get you all to improvise today. Don't be scared. It's going to be all right. We're all in this together. And essentially, of all the things that I do, this is by far, my most enjoyable and rewarding work. To see within 6 to 8 hours, scientists kind of, there's this just transformation that I just didn't think could happen so quickly. And I hope that you get a taste for it today. So let's get started. There's mics. This is interactive, so I see a lot of apples. I got apples lit up, so I wouldn't mind if you can close your computers. I'll just gently ask if you need to, if there are reporters or anybody who needs to be, are you doing social media? That's fine, I guess, but I might call on you, so you might want to pay attention. So we've got mic runners. Can you just put up your hands here and then here? So let's throw out some ideas. What challenges do you have communicating your science? Okay, right here. So the mic runners, just watch the arms come up. We're going to do 2 or 3 of these.
So I have my big idea, and when I communicate to someone, what they're doing is thinking about their big. They can use my big idea for their big idea. So they don't really care about my big idea.
They don't care about it yet. Making them care. Number 1. What else? What else? Yes, arms over here.
I'm trying to explain qualitative research to quantitative people.
A valuable thing to do, right. And what challenge do you have with that? What challenge is it? That's what it is, but what's the challenge?
I think it's real.
They don't think it's real. Yeah. Is that a trust issue? Oh, the audit. Yeah.
So my challenge is to talk with my taxi driver who has no university education but pays our salaries. How do we justify what we're doing, why it's exciting to him, to the planet? What are we doing that's useful?
The general public is one of my favorite audiences. They are unforgiving, everyone. Everyone's unforgiving. But don't feel that that's the only audience. And I would also, from all the work that I've done and all the scientists I've seen try to attempt to communicate clearly, there's as much difficult as was mentioned already this morning, disciplines, but even within a discipline. So I worked with synthetic biologists at MIT And I let them use, sometimes I'll let scientists say, go over the jargon, go with the expert version of this. And within about 30 seconds, 2 researchers down the hall from each other couldn't understand within 30 seconds. They understood the first 30 seconds, and after that, it was falling into the abyss. And they were like, I don't know what you're talking about. You got to define that. Definitions are huge, obviously. One more, and then we'll try an exercise. Yes?
We're explaining it concisely and briefly to other people.
Similar to some of the issues that Steve brought up, the curse of knowledge is high and everywhere, and it's very, very difficult to be aware of it. But Steve's talk made you aware of it, which is the first step, awareness of this. Then comes the art form of deciding what to kill and what to keep, and how to not get mired in the detail. So let's start with an exercise of sorts. We're going to start with baseball. Baseball fans in the house, raise a hand. Okay, hold them up. Keep, no, oh. This gentleman right here, he'll need a microphone. What's your name?
Paul.
Paul? Paul. Paul. And what's your discipline?
Computer science.
Perfect. Paul and are you from New York or Boston? Neither?
Neither.
All right, that'll work. And who else had their hands up? Now everyone's going to be shy. Oh, wait, hold it up, because I can't. Over here, great. All right. And what's your name?
Hi, my name's Christy.
Christy? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, thank God. It's Christy and Paul. I have a terrible time remembering names. This is wonderful, Christy. You've made my day. Because my name's Christy. Okay, so Paul, Christy. Now, who doesn't like baseball? Better yet, geez, we got a lot of them. This entire clump right here. They should all hang out together. You just go to the baseball game and eat the hot dogs and drink the beer, and that's what I like about baseball. So keep your hands up. Who, better yet, who's never seen a game? Oh, we've got some live ones. Wow. Okay, this gentleman right here. Your name is? Daniel. And what's your discipline? Biophysics, okay. And have you ever seen a game?
I'm not sure I actually saw an entire one, but I've seen snippets everywhere.
Who else? Someone from over here? Yes? Tawny? Charlie? And what's your discipline? You're not an academic. Okay, perfect. So Charlie, so Charlie and? Daniel, Paul, and Christy. And Christy, what's your discipline? I didn't get that.
Biochemistry and libraries.
Okay, great, perfect. Now, Paul and Christy are going to start getting more and more nervous as I talk through what I'm about to say next. There was a great science journalist, Natalie Angier, very, very prolific and flowery writer, wonderful writer, at the New York Times, who once said that explaining your science to the public or to other audiences that aren't as well as informed as you are is similar to explaining the game of baseball to those who don't know anything about the game. All right, so New York Times, 2010, 2 sentences. The baseball or the sports section of a newspaper is the most jargon-filled and complex and challenging section of the entire newspaper. It requires the most background knowledge of any of the other, even some of the financial pages, which I would have suspected. So, Paul, where are you? Here we go.
I'm here.
Explain to Charlie and, oh gosh, here we go. Daniel, thank you. What's going on in these 2 sentences?
So, in the I can stand up. Oh God.
Maybe start with definitions. Like, what's the bottom? What's the ninth?
Okay.
What's Jeter?
Maybe start with definitions. All right, and it's often good to make a connection. I like that Daniel made a connection. Sometimes it comes from your listeners.
We spent the hackathon last night, so we know each other fine.
Yeah. So let's start with the people. Let's talk about what the ninth is. So baseball is divided up into sections. Those sections are called innings. Okay, and there's 9 innings. So ninth is the
9 innings
end.
where? In the ball or on the place
In the
or
game.
on the player
In the
or whatever?
game.
Is it time-based in innings, or is it like an area?
I love that there's interaction happening here. This never happens because I don't think we have Mike's position, but this is awesome because this doesn't. Usually the speaker gets the floor and that's it.
So forget the innings. Let's say just that in the bottom of the ninth means the end of the game.
Okay.
So in baseball, you try to hit the ball, right? So somebody's gonna send the ball to you, and you're gonna hit it like this.
Yeah.
So Jeter is trying to hit the ball, and if you miss, this is really hard.
It's okay. But keep going.
So
Keep going. We're with you.
If the pitcher, right? So the pitcher is
What, the
Papelbon.
jug is that? Or
Which is the guy who's trying to hit the ball, or what?
No, the pitcher is the guy throwing the ball.
Okay.
So where's my backup?
Okay.
I really don't know what you're.
So Christy is going to be the pitcher, and I'm going to be the hitter, right?
Oh, this really has never happened. I have never seen such collaboration already happening.
So Christy,
Melissa, you've got a great
if I
group going on
could,
here.
if I could just add one thing. So we can imagine that Paul and I are oriented on a diamond shape. If one were a gamer, a game playing board, except for it's very large, it's real life. And so the bottom of the diamond is where Paul is. I am in the middle of the diamond. To my left is first, what they call first base. It's the point of that diamond. At the top of the diamond is second. To the right is third. And one might imagine in the game of baseball that if you were to hit at the bottom, your goal is to get around each one of those points and get back to your starting place safely.
So folks, this is why we need librarians.
Where's the metadata?
All right. I'm going to call a little pause, a short timeout. Short pause. So where was, sorry? Yeah, right. Anyone with a toddler in the audience? 'Cause, yeah, there we go. But okay, so Charlie, have you gotten anything? Do you like baseball more?
I am not a lot the wiser at this point.
But I wonder if maybe we shouldn't talk about the seventh inning stretch. I find that itself is maybe
Talk
one
about
of the
the
most
ace reliever.
What else? Okay, I'm just gonna. Yeah, who else has got one other way to tackle this? Who else wants to volunteer? Communication is an art form. I can't. Yeah, if the mic runners can watch for arms. Just a quick other version. Let's just hear versions just to share the burden.
So these two teams hate each other, okay? And the Yankees have one chance to win this game. And that one chance is to have their star player who has currently managed to get part way around this diamond to get all the way around the diamond, okay? So there's a lot of tension at this moment because Jeter, the star player, is on first and he has a chance to get around that diamond, all the way around that diamond, score one more run and tie this game, okay? So there's only two players that can help him. They're the ones that can move him along this path safely to home and score and tie the game. Papelbon, the Red Sox ace reliever, is a pitcher. He throws the ball, and he is going to throw that ball so that no one can hit it. Because if they hit it, Jeter will make his way around safely, score the game, score the run, and tie this game. The Red Sox are going to try to stop that. Papelbon is the guy to stop that. He's going to throw the ball. And when he throws the ball, Cano misses the ball and strikes out. Teixeira misses the ball and strikes out. And this game is over.
Other people in the audience who don't know much about baseball and didn't like it, what do you think of that? You have to know how many Red Sox in the room. Okay, what was different, or what versions did we like? What did we like about those versions? What made it exciting, though? What made it exciting?
That Mike cared.
Yeah. Get passion, just giving a little bit of your passion. Not a ton. You don't have to be overly ebullient or emotional, but just a little bit, the change that happens. Although I have to argue, Paul and Christy were very passionate. You could tell also. I mean, often I see scientists start, very similar to Christy, they do a visual, there's a diamond. But you see how quickly we get lost in the details, and I love how Daniel just kept stopping him. I don't know what an inning is. I don't know what a pitcher is. You won't necessarily have such a comfortable audience in front of you that will feel comfortable interrupting and saying, make me understand. You just may not have that, so we have to make some assumptions. Yes? Sure.
Videos and scholarly communications.
Yes. What was that again? Sorry?
I just said, I actually work on multimedia, and I just said we should have more videos in scholarly communications. There are so many things. So, and a favorite example of mine is a paper about cutting a drop of water. And they produce what academics produce, a paper about doing this. In the paper, they have figures that are screenshots from the video, but with the paper that did not publish the video. And once actually made public, it was viewed by tens of thousands of people within a day because it's fascinating to see a drop of water being cut. It's just, it didn't occur to us, because we're always thinking in terms of papers, that I could have actually used the video from which they had produced the screenshots to actually communicate the science they were doing. And I showed this video to my grandmother, who has no education whatsoever in the sciences. And she had appreciated that research, and she was fascinated by that thing as well. She would certainly not have been fascinated by the paper.
Right. Well, right. Well, look, and hold it right there. Obviously, we've talked a little bit, and Steve mentioned the power of visuals and visual communication. I'm going to talk about this a lot, because in my opinion, even written visuals, writing can be visual, radio can be so visual. And I'll give you some tips. And immediately, it is, for me, even personally, when I went to journalism school when I was 35 and had done no journalism before I went, and a professor gave me one rule, and it changed everything. It made my writing just thing. Remember roses, not flowers. So you just see that in terms of just writing. Now, obviously, the rise of the visual web, the power of visuals, motion or otherwise, is huge. Pinterest and Instagram by far eclipse Twitter and Facebook combined in terms of number of referrals back. But let's continue to just take a look at, this is just one other way that the center describes it. And it's got the stuff that Mike put in there. Last ditch effort to win. He took a big risk, and it looked like it might pay off, but it didn't. The game ended, and the home team lost to its most hated rival. Nothing, a historic rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And start with tension. Tension, conflict between A versus B, human drama, forever has caught us and engaged us. From cave-dwelling drawings of the hunt to even, I'd argue, has basically transparent into Twitter. A Twitter kind of tension or conflict or even hints at it will grab people's attention. Now, I mean, some people and a lot of scientists love I love how they love to criticize. So I get a lot of critics on this saying, Christy, that could be about anything. I know nothing about baseball, nothing more. It could be about anything, and that's pretty much the point of going that so far general that you're reaching people on some form of common ground. I mean, this could be about a bake-off where somebody took a big risk with a pound of butter, or a garden, some sort of gardening challenge. But so this is extreme, obviously, and the difference in what you put in, to the gentleman who said earlier, what details do I leave in and what do I leave out, depends on your, what do you think it might be? Audience, 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 audience. We forget the audience so often. We get involved and we open up. Okay, so we've got a talk to give. One of the first things, so I certainly even do this constantly, open up the laptop and think about all the things I know. I know all the graphs I know, all the knowledge I know. This is where I start. Even as a journalist at Scientific American, I think about our audience. In 2009, our major audience was 45-year-old white male millionaires. I wasn't thinking about them. I was thinking of obviously writing a good reported piece. I may well have met one of them, but I wasn't thinking about them. So you have to know your audience, and you have to understand them, and you kind of wonder, well, how can we? And Steve mentioned a few things, and we're gonna take a look at an audience right now This is a public audience. This is man on the street interviews in Long Island. I have to mention the caveat that this group is highly educated, high literacy rate. And let's see what happens. You might be a little depressed, but I have some hopeful comments at the end of watching it. Let's see, I hope the audio is there.
What is the study of cosmological physics?
Not the slightest clue, no.
What is it again?
Is that like the black hole thing and that great, the thing in CERN?
What is physics?
Physics is... Boy, we don't know, do we? Not really.
Well, physics is, I took it in college, so it's,
I guess if you ask my 14-year-old daughter, she might know.
What is global warming?
Well, I don't know if it has to do with the tipping of the Earth or something coming near us, that things are changing a little bit.
Global warming was yesteryear.
They say, global warming's bad, but they never actually say, exactly, hello, this is global warming.
I think it is like what we're just doing. We're destroying. And I don't think we really know what we're doing that's destroying, so I think we just keep destroying.
Do you think global warming is real?
I'm not sure. I mean, it looks like it is, but I just don't know enough.
Yes, very much.
Oh, definitely. I think it is. I think whatever's going on is real.
What is a quark?
A what?
A quark.
I don't know. A quark is like a measure of something.
A quark? That's the first time I've ever heard that word.
A quirk?
Quark.
Quark.
A quark?
Quark. Quark. What is nanotechnology?
I could not tell you that.
I don't know.
No clue, I've never heard that word before. Isn't nano microscopic, right?
No clue.
It's nanotechnology,
space.
that's the word.
The micro technology going into like clothing, stuff like that. Because that helped that field, because now your socks smell better of that technology.
Really small technology.
How small?
It's smaller than microtechnology. Really something small.
Super small.
So yeah, I'll go super small, sure. Super small, super duper small maybe.
What would the use of nanotechnology be?
In the communications, electronic stuff like that.
Okay.
I only know that because of the iPod Nano. That's how I know the scale. Because I know, that Nano's the smallest thing there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Apple. So as a journalist, I've seen this video about, I don't know, more times than I can count, maybe 100 times even. And every time I watch it, it depresses me again. And it feels somewhere along the lines we failed. But there's one thing that I kind of think that some of these people in the video are feeling and experiencing. And I just want to share that with you because I think we've all been there. You know those times when you've met somebody and you've had a long conversation with them, and then you see them again a few weeks later, and then you might see them again a week later after that. They might even be your neighbor or somebody that you work with. And you've met them 5 times at this point, and it's just gotten way too late to ask them, I forgot your name. And you know that feeling, when you walk into a party with your spouse and you're like, please just, that it's become too late to come right out and say it. I mean, some of them were very brave to say, look, I just don't know. But I guess on that point, because I know that there's people out there that think, oh, I should know this. And we've heard this on other man-on-the-street interview sessions that we've done. Like we were asking a lot of people what DNA was. And a lot of people are like, I've heard, of course I should know this. This is crazy. Others, of course, said, when asked, where's DNA, they said in their hair. It's found in their hair. That's because of CSI, I think, the television show. And popular culture has helped us out. But let's help them out. Let's us, be aware of our curse of knowledge and make no assumptions. It doesn't take long to say DNA, comma, whatever definition you feel comfortable with. Some people don't like blueprint, but you can say genetic makeup of the body. You come up with something creative, but a tiny little moment, comma, and keep going. Give it to them. Ask them. Ask them how much they know about baseball. Have you seen a game? What do you know? Where are you coming from? Make that connection. And I think Steve was saying that. That's the first thing, just having a conversation. As a writer, it's a little bit more complicated, but before that, put it in front of somebody. Put your writing in front of somebody and ask them. But let's us make no assumption and give it to them instead of making them feel that horrible feeling in the pit of their stomach, like when you can't remember someone's name after meeting them 5 times. The other really hopeful thing that you see in this video is that they're hunting, they're searching for something, right? They're looking for like Apple and what do they know? They're not just, we're inherently curious about this stuff. They will hunt for an answer or some sort of connection to what they do know. So they're curious. And we all have to remember, we all have that inherent need to be like, you hear a word that you don't understand, you start breaking it apart. Okay, nano, I've heard that, where have I heard that before? And see how fast they do it? So that's hopeful, right? Okay, I think it's hopeful. That's a place to start, but it's on us to give it to them. You know, what's better, just talking? You know, communication isn't just talking or writing or making a video. Communication is when you know they get it, when you know it's landing. These are the most important things. If you get anything from this talk, it's knowing your audience and knowing your goal. And they're very intertwined. Now, knowing your audience isn't as simple as sitting there and going to labeling it. Okay, I'm going to be talking to a bunch of researchers, or I'm going to be talking to high school students. I'm going to be meeting with a couple of funders. That's not enough. You have to understand them a little bit more, and a little trick that I use is I get a piece of paper out, and I write down 3 to 5 characteristics that I think I know about what their motivations are, who they are, who do they need to answer to, what's worrying them. How can I help their day better? How can I gift them with some information that's going to make them better? So when you meet with a funder, it's not just I'm meeting with a funder and my goal isn't I want to get money from them. Your goal is to make them think, feel, or do something. And write down, what do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel after they've heard you speak? What do you want them to do? And with a funder, you want to de-risk yourself. You want to give them more of how much experience you have, what you've done in the past that's been really valuable and a sure win, because it will make them look good. So we start with them first, and then we go backwards. Who do they need to answer to? What motivates them? What's going to excite them? And I argue if you spend 10 minutes, basically writing down some characteristics, thinking hard about your goal, which is actually your audience's goal, this forms the backbone of your communication. Just 5 to 10 minutes of just good thinking, and then you open up the PowerPoint or whatever you might want to work with and start working it. And keep these statements in front of you. Keep your eye on what they want to get from it. Let's think about this. So what's going on here in this photo? Yeah, well, maybe. What else? Anthrax. And so we remember, let's together as an audience think of, okay, anthrax is happening. I think it was about November 2001. I lived in New York. Unfortunately, I was down at the towers on 9/11, so I was very, very scared when the anthrax scare hit. I was already kind of suffering a little bit, and this made it just even worse. So let's think about the audience. Our goal is we're at the CDC, and we got to write something quick about anthrax. What's going on in the audience's mind? This is going to take literally, a minute. What's going on? Just yell it out. I'm scared. I'm scared. What else? I'm going to die. And what would they want to know? How do you protect yourself? What else would they want to know? What's being done to solve it? What's the risk of getting it? How do you get it? Huh? Is it Halloween? Right. Well, and what else? What other things? Put yourself in that headspace. What is it? Yeah, what is anthrax? What does it look like if you get it? If skin bubbles up, what happens? And maybe is there a cure? And where do I go for help? Okay, so we did that in under 30 seconds. So the CDC, on their FAQ page, the poor CDC, right? Because they did a little bit better with Ebola. But so this is the FAQ page, and the answer to what is anthrax, they had this great one came out. By the way, I just did a curse of knowledge. Centers for Disease Control. Always spell out the acronyms. That's a big, big, big no-no that I just did. So it's CDC explaining to the public what anthrax is. Okay, somebody give us a better one. Distill it like the baseball example, knowing a little bit about what the audience's motivations are. One person. And don't all rush the stage. Oh, we got one. I know there's a lot of biomed people in the audience.
Some terrorists have put a deadly bacterium into the post office, and we need to find out where it's been done, what the risk is to us, how we're going to prevent it the next time.
And if you had to distill this and magnify it with some clarity, what's the answer to what is anthrax?
Well, anthrax is an infective agent which can be spread by a number of ways. This article will tell you how it can be spread and how it infects you.
Just better, right? Better. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I love that you all already came up with so many other qualities of the audience that would then tell us the information that we need to put in, right? Just they want to know how does it travel? How would you get it? What does it look like? What does it look like when you're infected by it? All those questions. See how quickly they popped up. I mean, look, this isn't necessarily perfect either because usually it's curable. What? I'm still scared. But it can be fatal in animals and people. Yeah. You need to know more. Obviously, that was the one question. So we're going to do a little improv exercise. This is the first improv exercise. Okay, so let me just make sure. And you have to, when I say, listen to me again, please do, because I know you're going to all start talking at once. Find a partner. Find a partner. 2 people, pairs. Okay. Okay, you found a partner. Now you need instructions. Yeah, you need instructions. Okay, I'm going to ask you to be quiet and just listen up here. This is great because one of you is going to be doing a lot of talking in a minute. Okay, don't do this right now, but one of you is going to be A and one of you is going to be B. Decide who quickly, but don't keep talking. Okay, great. Awesome. So terrific. Okay, one's A, one's B. A. Okay, A is going to be speaking for 1 minute about themselves in statements like this. I'll illustrate it for you. And what's your name? Joanne. Just so I can talk to Joanne for a second. So I am Canadian. I am a mother. I'm a science journalist. I have a startup in Silicon Valley. I have difficulty managing that. I like to bake. I like dirt biking. I am frustrated with disorganization. Something along those lines, right? I like is okay. I enjoy. I don't like. But something. For 1 minute, A, B, do not, Daniel, do not talk. Are you A or B? So B stays silent, focuses on A. And I'm going to give you a minute, and I want you to start now. Okay, stop. Stop. Okay, for the A's, how did that that feel? Was it hard? How was it? Was it hard for people? A's, was it hard to talk? Why do you think? Why was it hard for you in the yellow sweater to talk for a minute about yourself? You, yes. Or light green.
Well, it's just usually you focus on other people.
Usually you focus, maybe a mic can go to her, I'm not sure. Okay, usually you focus on other people, right? And it was.
It's hard to talk about yourself.
Anything else? Any other? Oh, okay, right here.
I wanted to explain everything I said.
Why? Why were you feeling that?
A short statement wasn't enough.
Oh, wow.
To give context.
Wow, Allison must have been looking at you intently. It's too much to say? You guys are interesting.
I'd rather have a conversation.
Not many people find themselves that interesting. This is, but I like
Yeah.
this. I know it's a healthy, this is a healthy group.
I'd rather have a conversation with somebody than just an endless string of I statements. So I'd rather kind of say, I like this, and then get a reaction from them about, oh yeah, I really like to do that too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good to talk about yourself. Hold that thought for 1 sec. It doesn't feel that great to talk about yourself for 1 minute. It's a long time, and sometimes you run out of ideas and you're kind of sitting there. So for the B's, only the B's, when were you, if you drifted off, because many B's probably were thinking about, you're probably thinking about what you were going to do next, and you will be called on next, and what you were going to say. So what brought you back? What were the moments that were interesting to a B? Where did you suddenly go, huh, what? Or, huh?
No,
She's from Panama, and I'm from Argentina, and we had this conversation in English, and it happens many times in science. We are working in a language which is not our own, so my effort was to try to keep it.
And it was it surprising to hear that she was from Panama?
Well, we sat together. Yes, we discovered we were from Latin America. We just discovered
that moment. Any other surprises? Yes.
I found it very hard to keep my mouth shut because we had so many things in common and I wanted to keep digging in more.
What is it about things in common that make us jump up and suddenly want to engage?
It's creating a connection.
Creating a connection. Creating a connection. What else?
That made it
who else wants to
easier.
share?
That
Sorry.
made it easier to talk about myself too, because she kept, looking at my eyes and connecting and getting excited.
Oh, and getting excited. You felt that. There's two women in the middle here in the white shirt. Everyone looks down like, what am I wearing again?
I had a hard time not saying anything because I wanted to help draw her out. She had trouble with continuing the conversation. 1 minute is a long time, and she was struggling to say more about herself, and I wanted to help draw her out because what she was saying was interesting.
What
and
she
I
was
think
saying was
she's
interesting. And tell me one interesting thing about her. What's one cool thing?
Well, she's from Toronto. She likes cats. I like cats. She's a librarian. I run a library.
Right. Okay. So the connection immediately brings a feeling of empathy. So strong that, what was your name?
My name is Alice versus Alice.
So much. Oh. So much that Alice actually felt like, I want to help this person bring more out. When you reach a common ground with someone, there is a sense of connection. There is a sense of, of shared interest, shared experience, and that very quickly brings a natural sense of empathy. And we can do this all the time. We go into something with our scientist hat on. When Alan would interview scientists for Scientific American Frontiers, the PBS show that then inspired what he's done at the Center for Communicating Science, was just getting the scientists to think more in terms of a human connection, of making that connection. Because when they did, it so naturally flowed. And we often go on stage, on presentations, thinking we're just, or to a fund, to pitch a funder, or to collaborate with a group, with us as scientists. We forget that we wear all these other hats. Let's try it the other way. B is going to speak to A for a minute. Is it do I have to 11:15?
We're giving you 10 hours.
11:15? Is that okay? Okay, I'll just have to speed through. That's okay. And stop. Yeah, stop. Stop. Yeah, stop. You're wonderful people. And this is a fantastic start for collaboration, because usually I don't have to say stop so many times, but this is wonderful. You want to still talk, and what happens is because you've got a layer. So how did that feel for A? Just the A's, listening, the ones that were only supposed to be listening. Although I think some people cheated. The woman right at the back.
I'm not sure if, it felt really great, and particularly because she moved from personal to work and back again, which I noticed I also did, and that made it really interesting.
Was any A's surprised by, especially if they were talking to someone they knew? What surprise? Yes.
Yeah, he said something personal about traveling so much and having demands on his time, making him anxious.
Oh.
And talking about a feeling, I thought it was interesting.
To hear the feeling.
Yeah, to hear the feeling, not just a fact.
Yeah, and why? Why did that, what do you think?
I think because that signals kind of like some openness, that you're sharing how you're feeling about a situation, not just the situation that you're in.
Right.
And
right.
yeah.
The vulnerability that comes with this, and I know as scientists, and certainly all the ones I've spoken to really don't like being, none of us like feeling vulnerable. The very definition is difficult. Even if Brené Brown tells us otherwise, it's still a very difficult situation to be in, to become vulnerable, to be open to prey. However, it does bring that connection really quickly, and it can also, to hear that there's anxiety associated with it, you don't have to, give everything, but just be honest. When honesty happens, the trust happens. To someone earlier at the beginning who said, they may not trust me. Just even connecting, and you connect by asking questions about, well, again, where are you from? What are you interested in? Again, coming back to the audience. Coming back to the audience first, before, getting into what you know and what you want to talk about. Making that very, very quick connection. Just try it. I know but you just all did it. So, obviously you're not going to go out and say, let's play the Many Who's I Am before we talk. But it just illustrates, it's a great illustration of all the hats we wear, and that the listener gets instantly more into you and wants to help you, as Alice did, when they can say, oh, we've got something in common. I like cats. You're from Toronto. This is amazing. I want to, let's talk more. I'm the person who weaved their work in. I have to, unfortunately, you're such an active group, so I wasn't expecting so much time. So I'm gonna go through a few of these things, but you get a sense of some of the work that we do and the fact of getting focused on the audience. These 3 questions, deceptively simple questions, but when you're about to give your communication, you can write these down. 1-sentence answers for each of these questions. What is the point? What is one point? You think back to the best talk you heard in 2015. Take a moment, think about it. What was one of the best talks? Do you remember anything from that talk? Do you remember one point? Probably one thing. You remember 1 or 2 things. Just have 1 point, because we just can't take in so much, and I'm already fire hosing you. What makes this awesome? Awe grabs people. Why would we care? Why should we care? Why should the taxi driver care? Get into his head, understand where he's coming from, what are his motivations, he pays for your research with his taxes, why will this make a difference in his life? And what is awesome? People like awe. And then the temporal component of now. Why should we listen to you now? Why should I pay attention to you now? Why should 8 million people on Good Morning America hear about your research tomorrow morning? It's a powerful question. But if you spend some time, 1-sentence answers, post those answers near your desk where you're creating your piece. I am telling you, it is going to make a big difference. 1-sentence answers to those questions. Oh, here's another exercise. This is a good one. And we'll end on it, I think. I've got 15? I have 15. I still have 15 minutes? Wow, it's just growing. I wish my money was like this. Okay, we're time traveling. All right, so you can either, let's keep the same partners. Otherwise, it's going to be too difficult. You're going to talk more. All right, here's the situation. A and B. A, you're a time traveler coming to us from the 16th century. Put yourself in that position. I think, yes, so I was talking about the printing press coming on in line 1500. So, okay, so A is a time traveler coming to us from the 16th century. B runs into them. All right, so A has come to us. Here we are, 2016. B runs in, they start talking. Suddenly, B remembers she needs to make a phone call. You have to explain how this device works to the person from the 16th century, wait for it, in such a way that they don't think you're a witch. And you have 1 minute. Go, A. Or B, go B. Okay, stop. Yeah, stop. Stop. Cut. Deadline is done. You can't keep explaining. If they don't have it now, they may never. All right, some people are clapping. Somebody did a good job. How many witches in the room? Oh, here's a big witch. All right, what worked? Who did not become a witch? What worked?
Something that I had already known about, which was a scroll. When she told me it was a scroll, I felt a little more at ease.
A scroll.
Because I knew what it was. I knew what a scroll was.
A metaphor of sorts. A metaphor. That connected with the audience. She thought about, okay, I'm going to put myself in the 1500s, maybe mid to late 1500s. What do they know? What do they know? Well, who else used a good analogy or a metaphor, an interesting one? Yeah. Like a letter. Yeah. Wow. You guys are all texting. Who made a phone call? Anybody was able to get the voice over the radio waves, which nobody knew about in the 1500s.
You're good.
Mine was likened to waves in the ocean, and the way that they move can communicate between people.
Wow. Wow, that's a nice one. Yeah. Who gave you that? Oh, and your name? David. That's beautiful. Okay. And I see some. Okay. The microphone's coming to you. Yeah.
I said, this is a bard that comes and tells you what's going on. You know, they come and tell a story. This is a bard. He was, yes, no, because he was like, well, how did you get the bard in there? And I'm like, I didn't put him in there. I purchased this from a merchant, and they sell these to everyone these days.
And it gets confused. What else worked? Anything else? Any other stories to share? The gentleman far back. Or is it? Oh, somebody back here. I can't see. Woman. A person, a human. At the back.
I was told that he was an alchemist, and that he had this. He wanted to communicate with another alchemist. So it's not quite like being a witch. I think it's more like being a scientist. Eh?
Right. Okay. So the use of analogy of just getting into your audience's seeing. Some people bring up the church. Some people bring up drums or some method of communication that existed then, fire signals, something that they knew, and then they go from there. But what else? Did anyone work on trust? Did anyone try to get trust and establish? No? There was zero trust? Oh, there was trust here?
She told me that this magical thing didn't work by magic, it worked by science.
But and you trusted that?
Not entirely, but she tried.
Yeah, anyone, so this idea, though, of gaining trust first, for any synthetic biologists in the room, that is going to be one of the big challenges going forward. You know, the GMO scientists, you know, dealt with it a lot, but it's now the wave is coming up because the public thinks that synbio people are making squid men that are coming from the ocean. The establishment of trust in the public mind and also in the minds of cross-disciplinary even, it's still valuable. So do think about that. Okay, we're going to quickly finish up. I think. Just a final example. So a woman who came to the Alda Center in 2009, when asked what did she do, she literally said that out loud. I can't. Well, Didymo spinia gymnate, an invasive riverine species that impairs the recreational and ecological values of waterways. That's what I do. Now, anybody know what this is? Okay, oh, don't say it. What did you say? You did, oh, Asian carp. Asian carp, huh. No, somebody's like, no. This is what she had. After going through, after just one distilling session with us, I studied rock snot. She had that sitting in her back pocket. But suffering the other direction from the curse of knowledge, she kind of thought, well, nobody's going to really relate to that. Rock snot, are you kidding me? So here comes what it is, a kind of alga that forms. Here's the visual. Brown oozing masses that look like a sewage spill, the comparison, an analogy. These get here's the so what. Here's why we should care and why we should care, not necessarily now, but why we should care, period. These get so big that they block rivers and kill fish. So beautiful, no less accurate than the first one, much more memorable, and to Daniel's point about visuals. If you got a visual, use it, especially these days. Again, the rise of the visual web, it is very, very powerful. These are the tactics that we use today. We didn't really get too close to story, but you know, think about the power of the anecdote. The power of story is massive. So everyday language, we got that. Just try to be aware of it. Examples and analogies and comparisons, hugely valuable. Do not use an analogy unless you absolutely need one. How do you tell? You talk to people. You talk to your audience member, as Steve said, a representative. And if you come up with a great analogy, you've got about 5 to 10 years before, if it's really good, it might become a cliche. So you've got 5 to 10 years with it. Put some time into it. We are all nerds. We like to create things like this. They're very fun to think about. Test them before you go on stage with one, because it can surprise you how bad they can be, even though you love them. And then the visual language, remember roses, not flowers. It was a chihuahua, not a dog. A Doberman bounded. Just be visual, close your eyes. What does it literally look like? I think that will immediately make you more specific in your language and visual. The brain is mostly visual. Please do become specific. Remember roses, not flowers. And tell a story using an anecdote. This is my last point. You can take the most boring story or set of facts, and science is not a string of boring facts. It is a story of mystery to be solved. You look at all the popular writing in the Scientific American or Popular Science or New Scientist, often it is framed as a mystery to be solved. A wonderful, wonderful story. How you can establish story very quickly is think of the anecdotal structure. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then that happened, then that happened. Put anything in that structure and it will become inherently interesting because you want to follow along what will happen next. I took a step on the stairs in the morning and I heard a sound unlike anything I'd ever heard before. So I took another step, nothing. Another step, well, there it was again, and another step. That's it. I'm doing something so boring. I'm walking downstairs, but if you put it in that way, it does become interesting. You want to wait, you want to raise anticipation and a question in the reader's mind or the listener's or the watcher's mind, and then answer it. Raise it up again, and then answer it. And you'll see this pattern. The last thing I'll say is pay attention to what you pay attention to. And what you'll find is a list of qualities. If you jot down, why am I paying attention right now? Jot down a list of those qualities, and over time, you'll have everything that makes for an engaging piece. Pay attention to what you pay attention to. We all know when we are engaged. And we're all very common in those qualities in terms of what engages us. We saw this today. So I urge you to try that. That is your homework over the next 3 weeks. Just try to pay more attention to when you're engaged and when you're not. And then write down what was I didn't have anything in common, I got confused, there was too many points, whatever it might be. And then the opposite, they spoke in visual language, they told a story, they raised a question in my mind that I needed to know the answer, so I stuck with her. And getting back to the beginning, where you had that concept in your head that you've been having a hard time explaining to people, please try to take what we've learned this morning and use it and try to focus in on that. And hopefully that will help. I hope it'll help. It'll give you a new angle anyway. I'm so excited that you're all willing to do this in the future of Force 11. So if is also here for you, that's me. You have it for life, my email for life, as long as Gmail exists. And that's Twitter. Thank you so much. You're such a good group.